Oh
Set
yeah,
the
man.
record button. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I totally forgot. First thing is to look at all the accomplishments that us as a team have done. There are many of them, 26 plus. That's very exciting. Congratulations, everyone. Keep up the good work.
That is really neat. That's a big long list of stuff. Of course, it's for 2 weeks, but still, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And 4 community contributions, right?
Woohoo! That's
Ooh,
probably the most we've had in a 2-week period ever for the team.
Ever, yeah.
It's really on the upswing.
nice. What have we been doing that's been like boosting that? Is there?
I think the good for first contributors has been helping.
Hmm.
I've noticed
That
when we use that label, they usually get picked up.
the hackathon. There was a community hackathon recently across GitLab, plus the outreach that we've been doing to the community contributors. The thing that you organized, Tiago, I think helped a lot as well.
Hmm.
That you and Lindsay organized. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, Lindsay's going to run the next one, so it's in a good time for America.
Nice, nice.
Stay tuned.
Previous discussions, Lindsay, who is not present, had a discussion about sorting columns and security dashboard. Initial implementation issue only covered sorting by severity, but then another issue captures the omitted scope of the rest of them. Does this need to go through planning breakdown? Does anybody have any thoughts or feelings about that?
I think it's pretty straightforward, but I don't want to answer for the engineers who actually work on it. I think it's just reproducing what the severity does for the remaining columns. And there might be questions whether the API supports it, but that can be done during refinement, I think.
Yeah, that's a great point. There's like add complexity if there's more than one column being sorted on, like what takes precedence.
I think for now, we're just going to do whatever column you clicked last is what gets the sort. We're not going to do like a secondary level sorting. That is desired by folks, but I would consider that an extra above and beyond feature. Plus, I don't know how that would look in the UI. I don't think, Andy, that your designs had that in there. So,
no, I think we just intended on having one column be sorted at a time for now.
yeah, we'll start there.
Oh, yeah, then that seems pretty good then and straightforward.
Yeah, I remember the monitor team ran into some type of technicality or some problems when implementing this iteration of sort, which kind of we are mimicking here. So it might be good to reach out to if we run into any problems.
You say monitoring?
Yeah, you can monitor health team, but I can throw a link in to where their sort functionality is, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then, yeah, I think as long as we capture those details, everything that we've just talked about, then I think that was planning breakdown, and then the rest can be handled in refinement. Cool. And people are updating their conversations there on the doc. Thank you so much. We have some demos. Savash updates security accounts to match applied filters. Right, so on the project level security dashboard, now when you filter, the counts at the top are updated, which is great. That was confusing a lot of people. Thank you, Savash. And Wayne, do you want to verbalize your question? Well, I guess Savash isn't here, so it doesn't matter. But
no, that's okay. So just a question. It looks like great stuff. Have we also updated the documentation?
Great question. Savash can get back to us with that.
If you're watching,
that's a great joke. Savash also added detected column to the vulnerability list, which is excellent. And I believe that probably has gone, and that's on the project security dashboard, might be on the other dashboards. Stay tuned. And then that's possible because, oh, actually it is, because in the very next thing, I posted that finally all of the security dashboards look the same. The instance, the group, and the project are now all have a vulnerability report page that look pretty much all the same and have all the same columns, including in the screenshot, the detected column. So that's exciting as well.
Yeah, I wanted to point out on that one. So if you haven't seen it, it's not really something that the team used to track, but the AppSec team with Philippe's help have compiled sort of their must-have, should-have, nice-to-have lists of things and making sure that there's an issue against them. That was like their number one thing on their must-have list, is getting that detected date so that they can sort by that. So that's huge, especially since it's going to be across all the dashboards.
Oh yeah, and then when sorting is coming down the pipeline, we're crushing it.
Yeah, they're going to be thrilled. I look forward to it because it's a big list of stuff and it's got a bunch of checkboxes and nothing is checked off on it yet. I'm going to get the top one on the list underneath a bug. We're not going to talk about that one.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind, for sure. Cool. Does someone want to take over for the planning breakdown section?
you're doing a great job, Alexander. If you're comfortable continuing, I think you're doing awesome.
Well, I want to spread the love too, so.
That sounds like Matt's gonna volunteer. Did
Jonathan
you
or
make a
Daniel?
motion?
Any volunteers?
I can go through it if you give me a sec here to get organized.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first one is allow reverting a vulnerability back to detected state. It's already in review. Don't think there's much that needs to be said for this one, unless somebody feels otherwise. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. MR Security Report MVC, which is a continuation from the last discussion. Is there anything that we need to discuss further on this one?
Unless there are any like open questions from the team, I don't know what else we want to discuss more, or maybe just see what happens in real time.
I think that's a good idea. There's seems to be already be quite a bit of discussion in this ticket.
Yeah, Lindsay's note from last time was, there's a lot to talk about and we're almost out of time. Let's do this next week. Doesn't say what we missed.
And then it all happened asynchronously. Perfect.
So we happy to move that to refinement? I'm gonna make a note, move to refinement.
Yeah, I think the discussion last time ended on discussion around iteration. And I think it was someone made a good point, if we can go back and watch the video, about how this is the MR state or view is in a more mature state. And so we need to be more careful on how we iterate. I think there's been several instances where we've iterated on some of our features where like the user sees, there's like two vulnerability reports for a project that happened at one point. And it was a good point to make that we can't do that here. And I think that's where it ended.
Okay, sounds like the conversation should continue in the issue. Okay, so Moving to the next one, hide create issue button on vulnerability page if a customer does not have issue tracking. So same thing, Lindsay asked if more discussion is needed for this one. It seems like it's pretty straightforward. If you don't have an issue board enabled for the project, then the create issue button, it should not be shown.
And it's moved to ready for development. So unless somebody has something now, I think we're good.
I only have one question about should we show related issues altogether if they don't have issue tracking? Or should we just hide the create issue button, but still show the related issues panel?
This is a
Andy.
question for Andy and Matt. Andy or Matt.
Oh, you guys
like-
broke up there.
I feel like we should keep that just because you can have issues linked to other projects potentially where the issue tracker is enabled. So it doesn't get rid of those other issues. Although it begs the question of like, how would you add them in the first place?
You can still link an issue.
I guess the linking. Yeah, I would, my vote is we leave that on because it's not disabling it unless you've got it turned off globally, in which case I guess you wouldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't when we have the what is it called, the reference character, doesn't that automatically populate that as well? Does it automatically create a reference if you use the caret and the ID of the?
Yes, and then of course you can only reference an existing issue. So by definition, if you can reference it, it exists, which means you should be able to show it. I think this one is just making net new issues inside of a project where issue tracking is turned off. Like it's, to be clear, it's making an error today because it's saying, I'm guessing behind the scenes, it's like, no, I can't do that. There's nothing turned on. So we just need to hide the button.
I was thinking more if there's an existing issue in a project somewhere and I use the reference to the vulnerability itself, would that populate that issue in that drop down?
Not for related issues. You have to manually
actually
add.
link them.
Yeah, like it's not the same as the other ones where you can in another issue add a reference to this. We're actually adding that. We're adding the ability to I just remembered that Alan has some MRs up to be able to add there's going to be a caret symbol now that you can use to link to a vulnerability.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I did have a cursory look at the MRs he had open, but I didn't see anything in there. It seems like he's adding the functionality to the autocomplete, but it hasn't been decided yet what we're going to do once that functionality is in. Like, do we show like a history entry to this? Do we show it in the related issues if it gets linked or whatnot? I'm not too clear on the details on that one.
Yeah, it's in the agenda for planning breakdown. We'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
So Alexander, I saw you had a comment on that issue and I just left you one right before the meeting on that, but I'll go ahead and reiterate it here. So for the defect, you don't need to worry about the third-party issue tracking at all. Digging into that, GitLab issues, totally separate from third-party issue tracking, and the behaviors don't seem to overlap. So just push that one out of your mind and we'll handle that separately if we need to.
Excellent. Yeah, I never got the third-party integration working, so that's a great relief.
TLDR, it doesn't work anywhere for anyone. Seth found it in the documentation that there's a 2-year-old note that says, hey, this doesn't do anything. Maybe we should do something with it someday. But the field is still there.
Excellent. Cool. Yeah, and that because you've left that I pushed it to ready for development because I refined it.
Alexander, do we need to remove that update implementation plan, given Matt's answer? It says verify this works if a user has third party.
We
kind of know the answer.
I forgot that I had added that in the implementation plan. I will update that immediately after this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for catching that.
Excuse me. Okay, I think we can move to the next one then. Restructure security reports.
All right, this is a big one. I'll start by asking, has anyone, or hopefully everyone, had a chance to look at the brown bag session that James Johnson did a couple of weeks ago? All right, fantastic. So basically what I'd like to do is take what he's done in his proof of concepts and his MRs and start moving forward with that. So the goal being longer term, we will have one centralized schema that we can use not just for our scanners, but for third parties and for people to quickly sort of roll their own versions, like he demoed in there. That will help us greatly, since we've got, I think there's 6 different common formats, one for each of the scanner teams. It's a real hassle for versioning for the scanner teams, as well as for us whenever they try to add a new field. If they want it displayed in a particular way or whatever, we have to add logic inside the vulnerability management component. So I think it's going to be primarily back end until we're ready to start doing things with it on the front end. But I think the first step is supporting parsing his proposed generic format, and then ultimately moving towards using the definitions of those fields and using that for rendering the generic components in the UI, so that we're not having to do specific scanner specific rendering rules, I guess, in the front end. It will all be predefined, which would be pretty slick. So I don't even know how to eat this elephant. Tiago, you want to step in here? Because there's like a bunch of MRs and it's all very weedsy.
I can give the technical overview. So he's prepared some merge requests with a proof of concept. So this thing works, but if it's being proposed and we're gonna own it, we need to review it and make sure we're happy to maintain it, and that's not gonna cause any further problems. So the way I'm thinking about it is it's got 3 main sort of disciplines to it, or groups that need to work. One is the JSON schema itself. So that's the format of the report that the analyzer generates. That sort of sits with the other groups. Thanks, Alexander. It sits with the other secure groups. Although we need to be across it, because the next step is, once there's a report, a JSON report, we need to ingest that. And the way that gets ingested is there's a parser, which we in Threat Insights are responsible for. And that parser will try, when the merge request is merged to the default branch, that information goes into the database, which means we also need to create the database fields for it. So that's 2 groups. And then the third one is the front end. So now that we have this information in the database, we need to render it on that standalone vulnerability in there. And so in terms of actions, what I was thinking is that front end and back end could review the DMRs and suggest an approach to say, break these down, refactor that, have some questions on this, and then, but almost like reverse engineer the feature into requirements, so we can push it through the meat grinder and see what comes out of the other one. Make some sausages. Started very technical. We ended up with sausages, but I hopefully this was helpful.
One thing I do want to add is, because this is a proof of concept, it's a very functional one, but there are some things we may want to, I guess I want eyes on it from a large scale production ready standpoint. So one of the things that James has done, which is super awesome, is it's a recursive structure. So you can sort of nest as far as you want. I don't know if we want to allow that to be an unbounded recursion depth, things like that. So if we want to start putting enforcement parameters in certain places, these are the kinds of things that we should look for where we can kind of put those constraints in place.
That's a good point. Because from the front end point of view, you could put like a markdown component inside a table, and then inside that you could put another table and just keep nesting that, and you'll probably become a mess on the screen. There's some vetting, right, Matt? We're not super worried about that. So any integration does have a vetting process, so we wouldn't let anything horrible come through.
I think this is more about like errors. If somebody is poking around like they're trying to make their own quick analyzer, like James showed off in the brown bag. We just want to see
safety net.
Safety constraints on it. I guess the only other thing, in Thiago, tell me if this is not the right way to phrase this, but at least for the time being, once we've got this implemented, we're pretty much going to leave it running in parallel with the existing scanners and the report processes, because they are not going to be able to migrate immediately. And because they've got these formats out there, we do have third parties using them already. We'll have to, this is on me to come up with the messaging and the timing on this, but basically a deprecation plan. So we'll sort of be migrating things to this new model for a while. And it may be that nobody's using it initially. My goal would be to get a new third party up and running on it quickly so that they can show quick time to value, and then it'll gain some momentum internally.
The fuzzing team will probably be keen to jump on it.
And the fuzzing team, yeah, that's kind of where it came from. So I'd like this to be the net new build forward, kind of like what we've done with the GraphQL API. We just said, okay, we're not getting rid of the old REST one, we're going to keep it there, but we're putting all the new stuff in GraphQL. That's kind of what I see this new schema format being for us.
I'm sure there's going to be a billion questions. Do we take them synchronously or asynchronously?
I think maybe we start async, and it may make sense in this case, Thiago, to get you, probably the whole team, me as optional, and just James, since it's his, it's the inside of his brain.
I can definitely organize that if the team wants it, but I'll give everyone some time to have a read in their own time and get back with the request. In terms of organizing this, Matt, do you have a new epic for it? And should we use the existing issues as the design issue? Or should we create a new design issue to reference the POC issue?
That's a good question. I think from a purely design perspective, from Andy, I don't know if we need anything in the short term, since it's going to be, I mean, eventually we'll have to define like what do all these rendering components look like. But I think there's the old issue or epic that you and I were chatting about yesterday. It's on my to-do list to make a new one or to rewrite that one. So I do want to put a container around this so it is well organized. It's not there right now.
Yeah, I don't know if Andy saw the demo and the screenshots, but if up to you if you'd like a design issue with the screenshot, so it's clear to everyone what it's going to look like or what the possibilities are. Because it's kind of block building thing, you can't have a screenshot for everything, but you can have the basic examples.
Yeah, I think we have an issue open for like updating the page styling of vulnerabilities. I think in that I was going to take James's almost like components themselves and just kind of help build out for the other teams like what you can kind of puzzle piece together to help your own bindings or results, right?
In fact, that would be great to put in the documentation around this too, is I think we need to call out like, this is a, whatever formatted, this is the URL, this is what it'll render as, this is Markdown, this is an example of what you could accomplish with that, and show maybe like a nested example or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we're at time.
Yeah, we are. So thank you everybody for attending the Threat Insights weekly meeting. If there's nothing else, I think we'll end things here and let everyone get along with the day.
All right. Have a great day,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Ready.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.